Hello. Hello, everybody. My name is Carlos Morales, and I'm here with Fresh New London. So, we want to introduce ourselves to you, and something that we want to tell you is some of our history. So, we started back in 2005 with our founder, Arthur. And so something that our mission statement, I guess, that what we want to do is transform the food system with the broad participation of the community, which is you. And we're here to try to get you involved. So the first thing that we want to talk about is our youth program that we have throughout the year. So with me and our two other youth here, we are part of the youth program. We are part of the junior staff. So the higher part of the junior staff, and I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Aziza Littlejohn. I am the junior staff events coordinator and mobile market outreach.
Hi, my name is Julie. I'm the assistant farm manager at Fresh. And yeah.
So the way that we usually start the year off is in the spring, with our spring program that starts over spring break for schools. So some of the things that we would want to work on throughout that is agricultural work and getting started with our farm. We want to sort of, in a way, awaken our farm from the winter and bring it back to life by planting new seeds or bringing in some transplants that we planted over the winter. Some other stuff that we would want to do over the winter is teach the youth about the food system, get them started so that later on in the year they'll know more and they'll be able to do some action about it. Some other things that we want to do over the spring are, I completely forgot. Do you guys have anything to add?
Well, in the spring, during spring break is when we start bringing in the fresh new youth in the New London County. This past spring, we had a group of maybe 12 or 15 kids from a middle school group. And they worked in the farm for the first time. They did a lot of transplanting and weeding and prepping the soil, and it was a great learning experience.
Yeah, I have nothing to add.
So the next thing that we have that Aziza here will introduce to us is the summer program.
In the summer, which is basically the base of all of the agricultural work, is when we have our mobile market, which is when we go around New London, where basically all of the food deserts are. And a food desert is where people basically don't have access to good local and organic food. So we bring our mobile market, which is like full of all the vegetables that we grow on the field. They include lettuce, carrots, onions, a broad range of vegetables. And we bring it to many different like housing complexes or whichever around New London. This past summer, we brought it to Groton and Norwich, and that was a great turnout. We also have a CSA, which is Community Supportive Agriculture. In the beginning of the season, it's like people can sign up and they pay, like it's kind of like a prepaid service. You pay beforehand, and then every week you get a bag of the vegetables that we harvest, and it just goes along with the weather. Like, I don't know, one week we had like an overload of beets, and then the next week we had an overload of lettuce. It just goes with the flow. This past summer we did a distribution with the food bank in Groton. And towards the end of the summer, for the fall, we did a reverse trick-or-treat, which is when we went around the community and actually gave food instead of taking it. It was great. Julie, do you want to talk about what happens in the fall?
Well, I was going to add a little bit in the summer. During the summer, we had about 14 students, of some in middle school, some in high school, that also came to the farm. Some were from the spring program. Others were just new to Fresh. And around 5 times a week, they would come out to the farm and they would work. And it was nice. And during the fall, we have a campaign that we want to change school food. and we met Samantha Heinbo, the food director of New London Public Schools. And we met with her 2 or 3 times now, and she's talked to us about adding new recipes to maybe New London or just like all of the public schools in general. We have a new recipe coming out in January, so that's pretty exciting. And some of the youth has attended a board meeting, and they didn't really speak too much, but they did see how everyone on the board interacted with each other. So that was pretty interesting to see what they said. And they also inspected the New London High School cafeteria. That was not very shocking, but it was just interesting to know what was in it, and all the materials that they used. So for the winter.
So next for the winter, we have, for the most part, a calmer part of the year. We usually take a little break, which is going to be happening soon. And also the youth program ends. Like just recently, we had a small little party for the youth who just left. But another thing that we do over the winter that's actually pretty new is choosing new junior staff. So that's a process that we're going through, which happened last year, which us junior staff obviously weren't a part of. So we actually have a say somewhat in who's going to be joining us. So one of the things that I thought that I would go over is what exactly is a junior staff compared to a crew member. So the junior staff are sort of a higher position for the crew, in a sense, but we actually have, I guess, a job title or a description. So, for example, mine is permaculture. So, but will be changed at the end of the year to something that has to do more with the garden, which I work at. So something that I do is take care of the garden and basically care for it, make it look better, try to attract people to look at it more, get more involved with it. So now we're going to have Julie and Aziza here explain their job titles.
Well, I'm the assistant farm manager, so what kind of says what I do in the title. I work at the farm pretty much every single week. I go out with the farm manager. Her name is Mary Kate Glenn. And she's in Arizona right now, but she's coming back in the new year. But I pretty much just work at the farm mostly. I help pick out the seeds, just like the other junior staff. I help harvest, I help weed, water, pretty much everything that has to be done at a farm.
And my title as the events coordinator and mobile market outreach. We have a few events at Fresh, like since we just moved to our new place on Garfield. Before we lived in, we didn't live, but basically we did. Before our office was in the Gemma E. Moran Food Center. And it was like a small space. We got to share it with the people there. And they actually have a huge walk-in, which is pretty great for our vegetables in the summer. Now we are in the building that used to be YO, the youth program in New London. It's a great space. There's like paintings all over the walls or whichever. But like the events that happened in there so far, we had like a grand opening, that was this past week, right? Mm-hmm. With the fall crew. The fall crew got to talk about what they did over the campaign, and we got to eat a great meal, all local. And I also planned things like the plant sales that happen in the late winter and then middle of the spring. I remember some really exotic seeds we had, like yellow watermelon and like purple carrots and crazy stuff. But it was a great turnout. We got like hundreds of dollars from it, and a lot of people started to plant our own seeds, which is very exciting. Also, as the mobile market outreach, that's like going around door to door to the communities that we're going to be selling our vegetables to with the crew and having surveys on which vegetables they like, what time they would like to see us, and having like building a partnership with the people that are kind of like in charge of that area, so it's a really good relationship. And I think that's about it.
So, another thing that we have done in Fresh, which was new this year, was raise chickens. So, Julie here was actually, Julie and Aziz, I believe, actually, came up with the idea of actually raising these chickens, and they were really a big push onto Fresh getting chickens this year.
Me and Arthur, we ordered the chickens. They were black Cornish, and they arrived around August 19th, and it was really interesting. We had them for about a month and a half, or a little bit more than a month and a half, and we fed them grain, and they also ate the scraps that we had around the farm, the weeds and all those things. We taught them how to drink from pretty much a cup when they first arrived. Aziza would like to explain that because she loved that part.
It was so cute. They were like little baby chicks at first, because you know anything that's baby is just absolutely adorable and it makes you want to scream. So the baby chicks, they came in a box in the mail, which is kind of like disturbing. Like, how could you ship live chickens? But anyways, they came in a box and you had to pick it up and basically like dip their head in the water until they realize that it's water. And then when you see like a reaction of them swallowing, that's how you basically taught them how to swallow. That's pretty cool.
So, throughout us raising these chickens, we had our good times and bad times. Sometimes they escaped from the cages.
That was horrible.
Very hard to catch sometimes. Very crazy chickens anyways. Going on, what happened to the chickens at the end?
Well, we harvested them. Well, before the day that we chose to harvest them, before anything happened, we decided to. It was kind of like a little prayer, but also like we have to respect them because they're giving their lives for us. And you know, it should be done in a humane way, and it should be done in a right way, not disrespectful. And me and Aziza talked about that before, like we needed to make this clear for everyone that was going to be there that it should be a respected event. And then it's kind of a, it's kind of a, I don't know how to explain it.
The process of what happened?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to get into the gruesome facts, but we tried to do it the most humane way possible, so we had to make sure that they couldn't feel anything that was happening, and then we defeathered them and eviscerated them. That's it. So after harvesting them, it was really, I mean, at first it was kind of sad, like people were trying to like well, Julie and I and Carlos, junior staff, we were the ones like actually doing like the parts that no one wanted to do. So at the end, people were like patting us on the back and everything. But it's like, it was a bittersweet moment. Like we felt proud that we did it, but it's also that like we were pretty attached to these chickens and they're like our little babies. We raised them. So to see them like just stop and die, it was kind of sad. But after that, we had a huge chicken party, and we ate chicken. I don't know. We ate the chickens, and Mary Kate made a really good baked chicken dish with like garlic, and basically everything was from our farm. Mm-hmm. And we invited a whole bunch of the people from the community, and it was a great turnout.
So, you guys use the word humane. What's the difference between what we did and a non-humane way?
You want to talk on that?
Sure. Well, usually the meat that you would find at a grocery store, not all grocery stores, but some grocery stores, the meat is from large factories, and the animals, it's not just chickens, pretty much any animal is just pushed through a line, and it's just over and over and getting killed over and over, and it's pretty sad, but We tried, I'm just going to say it, there's no real right way of taking an animal's life, but, you know, we tried to make it less painful for them. So that was the most important thing for us. And, yeah.
I guess the biggest part to stress about it is that no one really wanted to actually harvest the chicken. Of course, everyone was just looking forward to eating it. But the most important thing is knowing where your food comes from. So to see a chicken grow up and then have to harvest it and then eat it, basically going through the whole cycle of an animal, it was a pretty good learning experience for me, because after watching Food Inc., what was it, like last year, that legit made me want to go vegetarian, because I saw the way industrial factories were like raising the animals, and it was just wrong. Like, compared to our chickens, their chickens were so like fat and unhealthy that they couldn't even take more than like 3 steps without falling, because their legs couldn't bear their own weight. They were in cramped little spaces. They couldn't even walk around. They were laying in their own poop. It was just disgusting.
Some of their beaks were chopped off, which was
it's
horrible.
Pretty unnecessary too, but it was just a really bad life. And actually, we got to meet, I planned a field trip to Firefly Farms. Shout out to Dugan. And he's a really cool farmer that I met at a farmer's market. And he has organic chickens as well. So we got to go over there and figure out how he does his own thing. And he actually told us that when a chicken is afraid, like when he's dying or whichever, their muscles actually tense up, and the meat is even as good. So I guess you could say that our chickens tasted better than the ones you could buy at the store. And when I went home with the chickens, my mom was really excited because, we got some food to cook. And when she realized, when I told her about like the process that happened, she was like, she looked at me all creepy, of course, but then it's like she didn't want anything to do with having to kill it, but she wanted to eat it. So I guess maybe you should question yourself, like, if way back in the day when you had to catch your own food, would you really do it, or would you be one of those like cheapskates that would just, eat the final product?
So, one of the things that I wanted to say, I guess, would be okay. So, I understand that you guys know the importance of actually knowing this process. It really helped you guys understand, I guess, where your food came from and just this process.
Yeah.
I can't even think of words. But why do you think that it's important for other people to know this process?
Well, if you don't know the process of what your meat is going through, then why should you eat it? I don't know, I think that's kind of blunt, but if you don't know how your meat was raised and how your meat was treated while it was alive, I don't know, it's an animal. Some people are like, okay, that's ridiculous. It's an animal. But animals could feel too. Just like Aziza could feel if I pinch her right now. An animal could feel. An animal could feel if you hurt them. So, and they're gonna be stressed out throughout the whole thing. So, if they're stressed throughout their whole lives, then it's not right. I feel like it's not right. But I don't know. I just think that it's really important to know where your meat comes from and what condition it was in, because if you don't know, then you're kind of being blindsided.
And I did go vegetarian because I actually found out the truth of what's going on in the meat process, and it's really disturbing. I found out that with cows that just give milk, not even actual meat, they're impregnated naturally so many times just to get the milk, and then the calves, they can't even drink their own milk, which is just ridiculous to me. First of all, why are we even drinking milk? You don't see bears drinking milk from another animal. It just blows my mind, whatever. But we have to impregnate a cow so many times just to get their milk. Their babies can't drink the milk and get the nutrients that they need. And then the cows, it's just so wrong. I don't want nothing to do with that. Plus, the meat cows, they get treated so bad, they have to take all of, like, actual antibiotics that humans take on higher dosages because of, like, the bad conditions that they're in. And then that's basically going through their whole body, going in the meat that you're eating. Like, I don't want that in my body, like, at all. So it's really, like, I can't stress it enough that people have got to start investing in local farms. Because, I mean, here in Connecticut, there are so many farms. Like, I drive by some on my way to school. And, I mean, I don't want to be a stranger to them. Like, I really want to be able to just go around the corner and get something that I can actually see grow on the plant instead of see it all shiny in the supermarket and just wonder where it comes from, covered in pesticides and just probably messing with my health. It's just wrong.
Okay, so there's a problem here.
There is?
Yes,
What's the problem?
we ran out of stuff.
You did.
But I realized I missed some stuff as well.
Okay.
You speak about pesticides reminded me. Something that we never explained was how we're an organic farm.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that would be nice to let people know what is organic.
Julie, since you're the assistant farm manager.
Well, organic is that doesn't have any pesticides in it. And pesticides is, well, okay, so whoever has a garden at their house, they know that sometimes maybe ants could come and eat like a piece of your lettuce, or some kind of little bug could come eat a piece of whatever you're growing. And farms don't want that to happen. I mean, no farm wants that to happen, but it's part of nature. And a lot of big industrial farms, they use sprays to kill the bugs, but that's not very good for us because some of those sprays are not good at all. But our farm, we don't use any of those things. We use just all natural things.
Do you know what we use for, it's not a pesticide, but to keep with pest control? I mean,
it's like for potato beetles. I think that's what they're called.
I did that thing. Yeah, it felt like an exterminator. But you have, what was in it? It was like
it's extract of some kind of,
I don't know, some weird thing that has to do with fish, and then you mix it in with a mineral. I don't want to just throw names out. I'm not good in chemistry at all. But that mixture, you just spray on the plants, and it's just like a repellent for the bugs. It doesn't kill the bugs. It doesn't kill anything. It just makes them, I guess, the smell or some type of, it has some reaction with the bug that they don't like, so they just keep off the plant. Since we're at Waterford Country School, which is basically smack in the middle of the woods, and there's a lot of turkey vultures and deer.
Turkeys.
And turkeys, yeah. We had a big problem with deer and turkeys. We became enemies because they'd been attacking our broccoli, and it's annoying. So we have electric fences that go around. It's solar powered, and that's, I mean, it's a way to stop them, but they're invincible.
Well, I just thought that I'd say another fun thing about some kind of pesticides. Well, a way to keep insects off of plants, if you wanted to, consider it to be organic in a sense, would be to mix soap and water, because the soap interacting with the insect really bothers them. Some it can actually kill, and they go away and leave that plant alone. The only problem with that is that you have to do it pretty frequently. So, is there anything else about being organic other than pesticides?
Well, I got a cool fact. I heard that beer is really good for snails. Well, I don't own beer because I'm underage, but whoever has beer and has problem with snails, they could use that on their plants.
Well, not exactly speaking of beer, but Julie here makes this great thing called kombucha, and it's sold at Fiddleheads, the food co-op in New London.
Not my kombucha. kombucha.
True.
Not made by me.
Kombucha itself is sold at Fiddleheads, but Julie makes her own, and you want to talk about that? How you started it and...
Well, okay. So Mary Kate, the assistant farm manager, she was telling us about kombucha, and I'm the kind of person that if I hear something cool, then I'm like, oh my God, I need to know how to do that. So I found like a website that they sell like mothers to you, which mother is like a culture. It's some kind of culture that grows on top of the tea that you want, and
like
it fertilizes it. Yeah, it's like a bacterial culture. And it fertilizes the drink, and it makes it kind of like bubbly, and it also, I don't know, I heard that's really good for you. I think it's really good for me. But my tea, I usually make it with chamomile, and yeah, I brought it out to the farm a lot of times in the summer. Yeah.
That's great. It's really good, actually. I've been bothering her to make me a batch. So, another thing, basically everyone at Fresh has their own little, like, talent, I guess. Mary Kate, she made a beer.
She makes everything.
She does, actually.
She makes everything.
She's like the Beyonce of the farm. That's what we call her. But she makes like these really cool gadgets. We use drip tape to water our plants, which is like, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's like a tape that has little holes on the side, and it's spaced like maybe by feet or a few inches, basically to line up with the plant so that it'll be dripping water right onto like the topsoil. And that's a really good way to do it, actually.
Saves a lot of water from what's that? Sun.
Oh yeah, when there's too much water.
Wait, what did you say?
What, immigration?
Yes, evaporation. It saves a lot of water from evaporation. Instead of like pouring it on top of the plant, it goes straight to the roots.
And when you pour it onto the plant and there's still water droplets left on the leaves and it's like scorching hot, it will burn a hole into the leaf. So the drip tape is really good. But there was some extra drip tape, and I'm assuming that Mary Kate might have been like, she had a lot of time on her hands at the farm, and she like wove the drip tape to make a really cool basket on the side of her bike, and she still uses it today. Like, it never broke. She put some heavy duty stuff in there.
That's awesome.
She made socks.
She made her own knitting sticks with branches. She took the bark off of it, and then they're just so beautiful. You're gonna have to see it yourself. You're gonna have to come to the farm and meet Mary Kate and tell her to show you her knitting. And that's
sticks. Another thing. We are more than welcome to get people on the farm. We actually need help on the farm because honestly, it's some hard work. But yes. And it's like, all right. So people, when I tell my friends that I work on a farm, they're like, that's like dirty stuff. But honestly, it's really fun. Like, weeding and a lot of the agricultural work, when you're with a really good group of people, you can have like some really good conversations about some serious things, or just some crazy conversations, and just sing or rap. We had a few rap battles on the farm. It was pretty fun. And actually, the crew and junior staff and some of the staff did a camping trip further, like maybe a quarter mile down the path past the farm. There's like a little camping site, and it's like on the shore of a lake, and it's pretty awesome. We had marshmallows and we played manhunt, which was pretty crazy. Actually, I don't know how that happened.
It was really scary.
It was
pitch
so
dark.
And what else did we do? We like sang around a campfire.
Yeah, we sang.
Kumbaya type stuff.
We sat next to the water and we just all told crazy stories. It was awesome. So yeah, we invite any volunteers that would love to come to the farm. You can call Arthur. You can call at 860-574-9006. You could contact us at any time and just let us know whenever you want to come out to the farm, and we'll tell you if we're available. We love volunteers.
Yay.
Almost every Saturday? Saturday, yes.
Yeah.
I almost said Sunday. We don't work Sundays.
Nope. Yeah. Oh, what? Oh, at the, I think it was Carlos that mentioned it, that we had, or Aziza, that last Saturday we had a, how would you call that? It was like a closing of the season. The crew it was kind of the end of their crew, but they're coming back soon. We had some raps, we had some singing, we had a couple, what did we have? It was like a speech
Speeches.
on, speeches on like what they learned about reading the back of labels. That was really interesting. If you can't pronounce something, then you shouldn't eat it. That's what I learned. So
That's like our boss, the youth organizer, her name is Myrna Martinez. She's actually in the other room listening to us right now. She stresses a lot. Like for snack time, she has to choose the food that we eat. And when I first started working here, I brought like a bag of Doritos and maybe like a soda. And I swear she almost bit my head off because on the labels, it was like, the first thing was like hydrogenated corn syrup or something like that. Like words with so many syllables, it just hurt my head. And I don't even bother looking at that. I mean, I might glance at the nutrition facts if I care about my look, if it's like the summer, but I mean, it tastes good. I like cheese. So, we learned about all the things that are in processed foods, and they are really, really, really bad. We actually went to a GMO talk, and in the GMO talk, the lady has a child that is basically allergic to almost every food that is processed because one of the GMOs, which is a genetically modified organism, it sets off some type of like trigger in his body, and then he'll start breaking out in hives and he can't breathe or something like that. And that's in almost every food, so it's pretty hard for her to find food for her own child. And
even toothpaste.
yeah, it's even in toothpaste, like for a thickener.
Yeah.
Maybe, I think. But there's like a lot of things going on in the food system that's not right. Food injustice is alive and it's happening now.
And people don't even know about it either.
They don't.
A lot of things.
Well, something that you guys brought up was a GMO, which I know for a fact many people don't even know what that is.
Yeah, that's true.
Something that could be good, could be bad. We have no clue right now because that's something that hasn't even been around for a century yet. So, what is a GMO?
Well, okay. I am educated on it, but I'm not professionally educated on it. What I know about it is that some companies are trying to put some kind of gene from an animal or just something and putting it into a plant. Kind of like, I think Myrna was telling us that they put a gene of a fish into a tomato to make it hardy for the winter because fish don't freeze during the winter, I think. And so that makes the tomato survive throughout the whole winter. I think that's crazy. But that's what I know so far about it. Still looking up.
Yeah, one of our crew members, Maria Fiestas, a Monsanto, what was his role?
Representative. He was just.
Yeah, some guy from Monsanto went to actually visit her school, and she goes to Grasso, right? And he was talking about how it was good. It's like a way to feed America more because the population's going up so much, which is true.
And they work with farmers together.
That is like such a lie. It makes me upset because the thing is, Monsanto is like the big guy, and he will stop you if you're a small farmer from basically prospering in any way possible. Like, I know some scenarios are that if there's a small, like, family-run farm, then a huge Monsanto farm will, like, take, I don't know, how many acres next door. And then if during the spring, like, the pollen from one of their plants is just carried over by the wind or by a bird or some natural way, if it just goes over to their, to the independent farm, then a Monsanto representative or an investigator or whichever would go over to that farm, find the seed, or sometimes even plant it, and sue them basically for all the money that they have because they were selling their plant or growing it or it just has something to do with it. And that's just, it's just wrong. Like, I know she said that they were, like, corn usually grows just one ear on the plant, and then they're modifying it so that it'll grow two, so it'll make twice as much, and it'll feed America more, because in basically every processed food product there is corn, which is weird. Like, corn doesn't have anything to do with a lot of the food that I eat, but
Like
corn
jelly.
is there. Yeah. And it's like I said, food injustice is a big problem. Try to, like, and is it a law now in Connecticut to label GMOs?
No, they're still trying, I think.
It passed in Connecticut, but has to pass in surrounding states, I believe.
So vote for no GMOs, because that stuff is nasty.
And not natural.
So adding on to what Julie said about the GMOs, it is basically taking the genes from one organism that's completely unrelated, so I guess from a different species, in a sense, to add it to another one. Well, GMO is genetic modification, and it can basically be any kind of modification from that of human influence. So talking about the genes, though, is also can be more specific in genetic engineering, which that can be patented, which is what Aziza was trying to point out. You have anything from them and sell their product, and all of a sudden you can get sued because it's been patented by law. So is there anything else that you guys would like to bring up?
Hey, this past spring we got our truck painted. Trying to find the sticker. Found it! If you could, like, zoom in on this. This is our symbol, logo, or whichever. Fresh New London with this little, it's a radish on a target because we are targeting food justice. Our truck is big and blue, so if you ever see it around London County, then you can just stop us, ask us questions. You might even have vegetables in the back.
We're usually saying hi to random people throughout the
Yeah.
windows, so if you
Not a
hear us
problem
saying
for us.
hi, then that's fresh.
Just say hi back, you know?
We make people's days.
And now for the community calendar.
Say it again?
And now for the community calendar.
You got it.
This is just awkward science.
Now the fresh kills landfill's a place to see, with beauties beyond comparel. It's bigger than all of the pyramids, the envy of any pharaoh. So take your car for the afternoon on the Staten Island Ferry-o. And as the wind blows, you can follow your nose, just a whiff or two, and you're there-o. So pilot higher and deeper, boys. Who cares if we foul up the arrow? We're building the highest hill on the coast between Maine and Rio Janeiro. Yes, the Fresh Kills landfill's a marvelous place where mysteries and wonders abound, oh, to tell all the treasures that lie within, the answers they would astound, oh. And the seagulls all flock where the barges do dock, from as far as the Long Island Sound, oh. And as they fly through the purple green sky, you can hear them singing this round, oh. So pilot higher and deeper, boys. Who cares if we foul up the arrow? We're building the highest hill on the coast between Maine and Rio Janeiro. So we fill the Fresh Kills with this and that with anything that we chose. Oh, tires and springs and barrels and things and occasional dead mafioso. But all good things to an end must come, and soon 'twill be time to close. Oh, we'll put a fresh helping of trash on the top, and to fresh kills we'll say adioso. So pile the higher and deeper, boys. Who cares if we foul up the arrow? We're building the highest hill on the coast between Maine and Rio Janeiro. And when we're done, Donald Trump will come with ideas and notions profoundo. He'll build a big ski slope right down from the top, with hot tubs and chalets around. Oh, and the yuppies will flock all around the clock, while snowmakers cover the ground. Oh, their wineskins they'll swill at the top of fresh kills, while making this roundo resound-o. So pile it higher and deeper, boys. Who cares if we foul up the arrow? We're building the highest hill on the coast between Maine and Rio Janeiro. Once more with feeling. Pile it higher and deeper, boys. Who cares if we foul up the arrow? We're building the highest hill on the coast between Maine and Rio Janeiro.
Welcome back to Thinking Green. And I'm joining Julie, Aziza, and Carlos for the last 10 minutes because after watching, I thought I had a couple questions too, and I couldn't just sit by the sidelines. So I wanted to ask each of you how you got involved in Fresh, how you found out about it, and you know, obviously as junior staff now, you've been involved for quite a while. Start anywhere.
Carl, you can go ahead.
Okay, so I started with Fresh because Arthur actually came to my school, because at my I go to an agri-science school in Ledyard, and students in New London needed something that we have that's called an SAE, which is Supervised Agriculture Experience. So Arthur actually came to our school and offered whoever wanted it first volunteer hours and possibly a job, which me and my friend Pablo actually took advantage of that. And probably one of the biggest memory that I have is actually the first day when me and Pablo attempted to walk to the farm from New London.
Oh,
Which
not close.
we got maybe halfway there, and then I actually got a call from Myrna, and she came and picked us up.
You were stranded out along Vauxhall Extension.
We definitely knew where we were going. Definitely didn't.
I bet it was worth it when you got there, though.
Yeah, it was definitely worth it. We actually went in while they were transplanting.
Aziza or Julie?
Myrna, the youth coordinator, she was my middle school teacher, and she also knew my sister. And I haven't seen her in like 2 years. I was a sophomore, and she messaged me on Facebook, and she was like, "Oh, do you want to come to a farm?" And I remember she just wrote, "Just dress dirty and bring water," and I didn't understand. I was like, okay. I got there, and she's like, "So this is a job?" And I was like, okay. I just got signed on to a job without even knowing. But yeah, that's how I got involved.
Well, I always lived in New London, and I don't exactly remember when the community garden actually became the community garden, but one day I was just walking by and I saw my friend Mercedes working there, and this was like a while ago, maybe like 2010, because they hire at like 14. So when my friend said that she had a job, I was like, well, I want a job too. I want to be able to pay for my own ice cream. So I contacted her and figured out how she got it, and then I got the address of the office, and I basically stalked Myrna until it was time to hire, and that's how I got the job.
Now, you all had distinctive roles, right?
Yeah.
Now, what's yours?
I'm the assistant farm manager.
And you?
Events coordinator and mobile market outreach.
Currently permaculturalist, but by the next year it should change.
Oh, now, are you a senior?
Yes, I am.
Are you planning to, is this your last spring coming up, or you're not sure?
I plan on going through the summer, then depending on the college, I might intern.
Now, if people are interested in getting involved, like for the spring, what should they do? Who should they get in touch with? And I guess that's true of students and also maybe of adults who want to volunteer.
I would think that if they would try to get in contact with Myrna first, which, because she's the youth organizer, she's the one who kind of sets this up. But if you can get in contact with Arthur or Mary Kate as well, if it'll be easier, or they're just there and you find them, you can also probably talk to them as well too.
Now, after the holidays and after the new year, it's not going to be very long until you start actually planting things for the spring and summer, right? So you're a farm person. What's the process and when do you start?
So last year, I remember around mid-January, we came to the office and we all decided on what seeds we wanted. And we kind of agreed. Aziza ordered purple carrots. And it was just a whole bunch of things. It was really fun. And then they got here around mid-February. And then probably at the end of February, we started planting them in a greenhouse in these little cell blocks. They were about, I don't know, probably like 2 or 3 inches each. They were really small. And they all just grew. You walked into the greenhouse at the farm and it was just like rows and rows of little tiny seeds coming up. And around mid-March, we started planting them into the farm. So that's pretty much what we do during the spring.
Now, how big an area are you planting at the farm?
We have a little bit more than an acre. That's about how much we have to plant in.
And it's all organic, so you use various methods of fertilizing and getting rid of the pests that don't involve fossil fuels or toxins.
Actually, the chickens that we mentioned earlier, we use them as fertilizer. So Mary Kate has this theory that in the field there's like this, what used to be maybe a road, because when you stand in a certain area and you look straight out, it's like there's no vegetation or whatever, and it could have been a road straight to where the horses are held now at Waterford Country School. So we're thinking because of that, there's like a really low nutrient range right in that area. So when she noticed that, we started using the chickens as their poop being fertilizer. We started moving them along that road, and hopefully it'll do better next year.
Well, and that kind of closes the whole cycle too, because in factory chickens, as you pointed out before, the manure becomes actually a problem. It's like a pollutant.
Yeah.
And, by raising food the way you are, it becomes part of the solution. Now, how has participating in Fresh changed how you personally eat?
I became a vegetarian because I guess I just went all out. They definitely, it affected me in a good way. I'm not saying you have to go vegetarian, but I stopped eating beef because I thought cows were cute in 3rd grade. So I guess I was just on the way to be vegetarian. It is kind of troubling. I don't really get all the nutrients I need. Gotta take supplements, and it's like when I do have like a little cheat day or something like that, I don't have a burger, it just ruins my stomach so bad. So, but I learned that basically on every plate I gotta have like a lot of colors and textures, and gotta be all over the food pyramid, and it basically helped me eat healthier.
Did you two also find your eating habits changed?
Well, thanks to Fresh, I I go to fast food places much less often, definitely. As a matter of fact, I went from probably like twice a week to like maybe not even once a month. So, because now that I work with Fresh, I get vegetables and everything that I need. So instead of needing to walk to the grocery store, I get the stuff from work and then I could cook it myself. So I cook more often.
I also became a vegetarian, but it was just when, after the chicken harvest, I couldn't deal with my life. So I had to become a vegetarian. I feel like I had to. But before that, during the summer and last year's summer, I ate so many vegetables. Like, I didn't even know what to do with them, but I just ate them raw. And some of them, that was not a good idea. But there was a lot of vegetables, so I just ate a whole bunch of them.
I think we only have about 2 minutes left, but maybe you can talk about, you mentioned that you're cooking a lot more, all of you. What kind of cooking, are there cooking classes available through Fresh, or have you just learned on your own because you had so many vegetables?
I remember at one point, the CSA people that, like, when they would get their share in a bag, we would try to put a recipe in the bag. And when you are a CSA member, you get a newsletter, which in that it gives you a list of all the vegetables and usually like a few recipes that have at least 2 of the vegetables that you get, so you have something to do with it.
Yeah. Well, and I know the new place you just moved into, I know you mentioned it, 90 Garfield. It's a huge building that you've taken over along with Yo, a small corner of, but it is very cozy and it has a really nice kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully you'll have more opportunities to invite the community in. And having eaten there just last Saturday, I hope you're planning to invite the community in.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And just one last thing, since you were talking about the farm and gardening, there are volunteer days after things start growing, right?
Yes, I think around maybe the end of February, maybe starting March, we have volunteer days every Saturday, or pretty much every Saturday. You could get in contact in the email or in our website, which is freshnewlondon.org. You could get in contact with us or with Arthur or Myrna or whoever, and they'll tell you about the volunteer days.
Well, I think our time is up. But thank you for coming on. I hope you come again, maybe in spring after you've started planting things. And hey, you could have a regular time slot one of these days. And maybe as we go out, we can kind of put the camera on some of these displays along the back. Sorry, cameraman, but they're really great, and they give a good idea of of many of the activities that take place.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming on, and this will air in a couple of days. So hopefully, people will stop you on the street and ask you about Fresh. So thank you, and I hope you come on again. And